Okay, we've got Dan from Rockland County. How you doing, Dan?
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing fine. What do you got for me?
I was one of those people that Craig was just talking about. My wife and I, with a friend of ours, 50-50, bought an investment property in the Tampa-St. Pete area in 2006. Long story short, we now owe more than the property's worth, and I want to sell it. My partners and us would not qualify for a short sale. So I've sort of been bickering with my partner because he doesn't want to go through the credit risks with, selling it for less than it's worth, and I just want to dump it. And I'm not sure what to do. I don't know if your last guest could help me out. It's in Reddington Beach in the Tampa-St. Pete area.
Okay,
it's on the Gulf.
We should grab your phone number also after we finish the call here and put you in touch with Craig because he's got boots on the ground there. Mm-hmm. But in general, are you able to rent the place out? I mean, is there a tenant in there right now?
Yes, there is.
And how is that? Is that it's not covering the cost?
No, it's not. It helps, but it doesn't cover the cost.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that you don't qualify for a short sale, and what that means to everybody who's not sure is that you have to show some degree of hardship to be able to get a bank to take a haircut. And if you can't show that hardship, the bank says, hey, stick with it or sell the property and pay us the difference.
Right.
Which is always an option also.
It's for people who make too much money and they don't get any accommodation.
Yep, and that's and that makes sense when you think about it. The bank's saying, hey, we're not in the business of undoing people's decisions that didn't work out the way they had hoped. How much money are you losing on the property on a monthly basis? In terms of rent,
is all the expenses versus rent about $1,800 a month.
$1,800 a month that you're losing. Okay. So the idea is that, and how much underwater are you in terms of what you owe and what it's worth now?
Well, because of these short sales, the prices have dropped immensely. We paid almost $700,000, and they're selling in the high threes now. And our mortgage is $560.
Okay, so the equation you're doing with your partner is if we're losing $1,800 a month, but if we sold the property short and the bank wouldn't give us a break, we owe $200-something thousand. Well, how many months of $1,800 worth of a loss would end up adding up to that shortfall? Because there's a good chance you have to write a check.
That's exactly right.
And the third option is that you default on it and you let it damage your credit, which I'm not a big fan of. The truth is, if you have the ability to hold this thing, it will come back in value. I know it's hard to believe, okay? But 10 years from now, it's going to come back in value. Your options are real simple. Default on it altogether, strategically default, and let the banks take it away and let your credit get damaged, but you're going to be out of the mortgaging market for 7 years. Okay, they're going to lock you out for 7 years. And so if you've got plans to buy real estate going forward, maybe you hedge this thing. Maybe you buy other real estate now, dollar cost averaging. Buy some more property now at the low point and try to blend your losses with gains, and undo the decision. If you bought stock at a high point and then it went down, one of the things the stockbrokers recommend is buy it at the low point and average your buy-in price with a better buy-in number.
Laddering.
Yep. All right, so listen, I'm sorry you're in a sticky spot there, but definitely give your number, and we'll get in touch with Craig and see if he can come up with some solutions for you.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, welcome back to Rand on Real Estate. I'm Greg Rand on 77 WABC, WABCradio.com. My website is ownamerica.com. My book is Crash Boom, and my mission is to help you see past the pain and misery of the Great Recession and learn how to make a fortune. So we have a couple of people on hold right now that called, and I want to jump to them, and then we'll get to Craig Beggins, our resident expert on the St. Petersburg and Tampa market in Florida. So Maggie from Fairfield, Connecticut, how are you? Maggie, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking my call.
Great. What's on your mind?
Here's my question. I'm looking at trying to purchase a condominium down in Florida as an investment for my retirement. That I'm only 50, but in the meantime, I'd like to rent it out. I can certainly afford to pay for this, so it's not a cash flow issue, but what I'm trying to figure out is if I should rent it full-time for a few years and then go in and revamp it before my retirement, or if I should do it now and rent it out as a monthly a snowbird kind of place that people go down and rent for a month at a clip.
That's a really great question. Can you give me an idea of where in the state of Florida you're thinking?
Well, I'm looking at Ormond by the Sea and Palm Coast area over near Cape Canaveral.
Okay, good. I like that area. That's kind of like old Florida. It's not quite as busy as the southern part of Florida. It's drawing a lot of people in from both the north and the south. But you ask a good question. I think a lot of people probably ponder this. If you're in the process of choosing a place that you think you love enough to want to end up retiring there, you don't have to buy a place and then go to that place when you go and visit your destination, okay?
Right.
Because you're 50 and you've got plenty of time ahead of you still before you actually want to move down there, I like the idea of buying the best possible financial rental you can, meaning make the best decision you can from a financial standpoint, and then when you go on vacation, make the best decision you can for that vacation in terms of where you're going to stay. For example, if you look down there and thought about buying a condo like right on the waterfront, okay? The prices you can get for that, the rent you can get for that, when you do the homework and figure out what the cash flow could be. And I know you mentioned you weren't that concerned about cash flow, but I'm talking about building wealth, and I'd like to see you retire in whatever it's going to be, 10 or 15 years, as rich as you can be, okay? And so the idea that you might want to stay when you visit in the nicest waterfront condo you can, but you can rent that condo from somebody else when you stay down there for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks a year, whatever you wind up doing. But you might find that the best use of your capital is to buy something inland by a few miles, okay? Something where you can get a 2 or 3 family or a 4 family building where you can really maximize the potential and look at that building that you buy inland as kind of planting the seed for what's going to wind up being your fabulous waterfront penthouse in 10 or 15 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the concern I have is maintenance. I'm a landlord now where I am, and my concern is getting phone calls from 2 or 3 people that are 1,200 miles away that, you know, have a leaky pipe or something like that. So I was a little bit worried about a multifamily kind of
the fear of the landlord call. There are more people that wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night being afraid of a call from a tenant than like wake up with that dream about being naked in front of the classroom or something, you know. And I totally get that. You're going to want, if it's going to be 1,200 miles away, you're going to want to have a really competent property manager down there. And the best way, you're going to lose a little bit of your cash flow in terms of paying for that, but you're going to get it back in terms of your peace of mind. Do the homework on the property manager, check references and so forth, because, you know, they have to be super diligent. They have to treat it like it's theirs for you to really be able to sleep at night up here in New York or in Connecticut. But yeah, so the obvious thing, Maggie, is for you to buy a place right about where you want to be and rent it out either. I like the idea of an annual rental because you can go on vacation wherever you want. You can stay wherever you want, but an annual rental that just nails the financial requirements or the financial obligations you're going to have on that condo gives you the best chance of being able to turn a 12%, a 15% annual return on this investment. And if you buy any time in the next year or two, you're going to see, I think, phenomenal appreciation over the next 5-8 years because the entire state of Florida has overcorrected. So you got lots of options here. You can always email me at greg@ownamerica.com. I appreciate the call, Maggie, very much, and I think that you're on the right track in terms of what you're thinking about and how early you're thinking about it. So good move there. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.